Right, so Ironheart, it's out. At least the first three episodes are, and we're, as Marvel fans, as superhero fans in general, we're kind of riding a high at the moment. Daredevil Born Again came out. It was fantastic. Perfection in my opinion. Then Thunderbolts came out. That seemed to be like a return to form. It felt like the Guardians of the Galaxy days. It felt like Guardians 1. At least that's the feeling that I got. It conjured up those same kind of emotions for me. And, we're looking at Fantastic Four in the pipeline. A new Superman movie, which looks pretty much nigh on perfect to what I would want a Superman movie to feel like. However, we've got this weird Ironheart show, which kind of spins out of Wakanda Forever. Obviously, a lot of Iron Man stuff is going to be referenced in here. I'm surprised that that this references stuff even as far back as Iron Man 1. I have seen a lot of people, news outlets and official, critics come out and say that there's too many winks and nods and too many, there's too much homework that needs to be done for these shows. And I've never understood that. I've never understood that criticism, because if you're a fan of these, you'll have seen everything. And, if you're not that interested in everything, you're not watching the Ironheart show. You probably don't even know that there's an Ironheart show happening. But if you are invested in this universe in any way, especially if you're a critic, you're probably watching all of these anyway, because A, that's your job to be watching all of these. But if you're too much homework involved, welcome to being a comic book reader, essentially. If you think there's a lot of homework that needs to be going into Ironheart, Iron Man 1 is a movie everyone on the planet has watched. Unless you're living in, a rural tribal village, you've probably seen Iron Man 1. Or you know enough about, or you know the gist of Iron Man 1. I don't think that's a big leap to make. You've seen that movie. So you'll be able to get the stuff from that's in this. Maybe it's been a while since you've seen Iron Man 1. It's been a while since I've seen Iron Man 1. But you'll get the leaps that they make here. You'll get the squares that they circle in this. But yeah, the thing for me with this show is it's good. I didn't expect it to be. I thought everything around this, getting the spicy hotness from Hamilton as the main villain, because the only other thing that I've seen Anthony Ramos in that's not Hamilton is that Transformers movie, and I thought he was fine in that, but he doesn't scream villain to me, and he didn't scream the Hood to me. I think he's clearly the best part of the show, but he's leagues above, he's leagues into it, the best part of the show. I think Dominic Thorne is fine. I do like the idea of having, and they do explore this in the third episode, having a character. I like having a character just outright. I do like having a superhero that is, morally ambiguous, to the point where actively engaging in petty crime or, big, big, large-scale crime as well. You know, that's kind of like the big thing about this, is that Ironheart, or Riri, kind of joins the Hood's. What I kind of view this, what they're doing in this show, as they're trying to do the least cringy way of doing, or the least weird or least comic booky way of doing the circus of crime. And the only thing that makes me think that is because there's a character called Clown in this, and they don't necessarily like dress up like a clown or anything, but there is a character in this who is named Clown, and that makes me think, oh, this is the, and you've got a guy who's a knife thrower, and that's me thinking, oh, is this them doing the circus of crime? And then Ironheart joins, and she's like, I'm here because I need money, because I want to make a suit because I can, and that's what we're given as her justification of doing everything that she's doing, of even like building this suit in the first place. There isn't like even a big connection or leap made from Riri to Tony, or even like, yeah, there isn't like a big leap made there even, or there aren't even connections there. The biggest connection with Riri to Tony is this other guy. I can't remember the name that he goes by. I think he goes by like Zach or Jake or something. But he's revealed to be Ezekiel Stain, this guy that Riri goes to like take help from. He's revealed to be Ezekiel Stain, but it's not the version of Ezekiel Stain. It's nothing like a comic book version of Ezekiel Stain. If you go in expecting Technovore, don't. If you go in not knowing who Technovore is, because I would not know who that character was if I hadn't watched that anime movie, The Rise of Technovore, from like 2009, I think that came out. Yeah, I wouldn't have known who that character was, and I wouldn't have known that Obadiah Stane had a son. I'll be completely honest. I own quite a few comic books. None of them include Ezekiel Stain. None of them include Obadiah Stane in them. I'll be also quite honest. I've read very little Riri Williams Iron Man or Ironheart. Weird that she kept the Iron Man title for so long, as well. Like, that title was Riri Williams as Iron Man, or that title was called Iron Man, but with Riri Williams as the face of it for a very long time, for like a couple of years before they changed it to Ironheart. But yeah, I think this show is fine. I think that this show is not going to be remembered unless if the things that are being set up, like the Hood and who the Hood is working for, because we all know who the Hood is working for. Demonic hell. Demons hell. I know a lot of people have been waiting for Mephisto to show up in a thing in a while. There were people theorizing that he was going to show up in WandaVision. People have wanted him to show up forever, and it looks like we're finally going to get it, and it looks like it might be Sacha Baron Cohen playing Mephisto, which I like. He can kind of he's one of those actors that is a chameleon and will kind of completely change. Like, I'm so used to him playing a comedic role, and he might ham it up massively in this, but he's one of those actors that can be a chameleon and can be completely hidden in a role. And he's also one of those, and I think you kind of have to ham it up to be Mephisto. If the stuff that I've seen, like, leaked from SDCC and stuff, like, showing that Mephisto is in this, like, 100% Mephisto is in this, then yeah, I think that's a cool thing. I would like Mephisto. I don't know if I'm excited to see Mephisto meet up with Ironheart. I don't know if it feels weird that stuff is in all the stuff with the Hood, or the stuff with Mephisto and stuff like that is wrapped into a Ironheart show. The Ironheart stuff, where she's like building the suit, she wants it to be iconic, and all this other stuff, and the stuff with Ezekiel Stane, that makes sense in this. The Hood doesn't make sense in this. If Mephisto is a end of episode 6 reveal, and we also then get a reveal of, like, Robbie Reyes, the same Robbie Reyes that was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if he shows up, then because we have this setup of, like, a not necessarily a chop shop, but a garage, so we do have the foundations of Robbie Reyes goes in to get his car worked on at the end of the series, and that can be how they square that circle of, oh, this makes sense now. This Ironheart show was just a backdoor pilot to do something with Ghost Rider because that Blade thing isn't coming off the ground. That's the only thing that I can think of, just because there is the Hood in this, there is possible signs of, and there is, footage from SDCC of there being Mephisto in this as well. Is this your backdoor to maybe getting, and there is also a prolific, like, not prolific as in it's a big thing in the comics, but there is a big plot point of there being this, like, chop shop, garage kind of place, and it's the perfect place for any of the Ghost Riders to kind of show up. Maybe not the one who rides a horse, that wouldn't make much sense, but there is like kind of an idea, or there is kind of all of the components for any of the Ghost Riders. I would personally prefer Robbie, because there is a Robbie Reyes that exists in this, and having one Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. character, even a minor Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. character, freaking Ice Cream Van wants to get involved in the video now. Even having, like, one minor Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. character show up kind of opens the door to recanonizing that, and also, getting Daisy Johnson back, which is something that will make a lot of people happy. Not necessarily me, I don't care either way, but there's a lot of people that would really like that character to return. A lot of people wanted that character to be in Secret Invasion, because she's a big part of that story. And it was like a S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury-centric thing. People really wanted that character to show up in it. Yeah, I'm excited more for that theory in my head than what the show is presenting to us at the moment. But the show isn't bad by any means. The show is not bad. But I don't feel, and I never was going to feel towards this show the same way that I do towards, like, a Daredevil. Because that's my favourite character. Ironheart, I don't have vested interest in that character as much as I do Daredevil. And, Daredevil's great. I was going to think it was great anyway because it had all of the pieces in it to be great. This, however, I can appreciate the quality that's in here. I think Anthony Ramos as the Hood is doing as good as he does in everything that he's in. I like what this is setting up, and I like that there's things that we can theorize about MCU stuff again. And there always has been that. I do think this is going to divide people. It already is. I'm seeing a lot of negativity towards it. I don't think that that's necessarily warranted. And I think a lot of the negativity is because of certain maybe certain political choices, maybe certain maybe you do see the same kind of things pop up about things with a primarily of color cast, and I just think stuff like that is best left in the past if we're gonna be completely honest. But yeah, that's really about it. That's all I have to say about these first 3 episodes. Not much happens really, in my opinion. I think it's a pretty good start for the show, and I'm interested to see where it goes. That's all I really have to say. There's a lot more stuff in the MCU that I'm more interested in than what Ironheart is showing. The whole building of the Young Avengers, which may or may not be a thing that they're actually doing, but it seems like there's a lot set up for the Young Avengers. But all of the kind of build up for the Young Avengers seems to be leading somewhere, and that stuff I'm not as interested in as this could possibly mean or could possibly lead towards Midnight Suns, and not necessarily with Ironheart. The Ironheart stuff is fun, but it's not why I'm watching the show. I'm watching the show because the Hood is good, because this is the closest we're seeing so far of the possibility of Mephisto, and that is a character that I enjoy, and because it's leading into very possibly Midnight Suns, especially if this Blade movie does get off the ground at any point. That's about it. That's all I really have to say. Let me know in the comments below if you agree with what I've said about the Ironheart show so far. It may all go downhill in the next 3 episodes. I believe the next 3 episodes, the last 3 episodes, are going to be next Wednesday. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. I just think there's a lot of stuff in this show, and maybe it could dial back on a few of those things. I would argue that maybe the show doesn't need to have been made, but it's a spawn of this era of Kevin Feige just wanting to spunk out everything. And, I don't think out of everything that's, been a straight to Disney Plus thing, this is far from the worst. This isn't She-Hulk levels of bad humor and, poor writing. This isn't Secret Invasion levels of just not being important at all. There is stuff in here, and it feels like the people who were involved in this wanted to make a quality product and a quality show. This feels more along the lines of a Agatha All Along to me. It feels like There is quality in this. It just maybe is not for everyone. It's for a very specific audience. And, you know, that's all I really feel about this. And even Agatha kind of put itself together by the end, and I think the final few episodes of that show really do a lot to justify the existence of that show. And I think the final few episodes of that show are the strongest. So yeah, we might get that situation. We might get a Secret Invasion situation where the last few episodes completely destroy the show in its entirety. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Bye.